Hey, tech writers and journalists. What the fuck? Hey everyone, what's happening? You may have heard that there are some articles floating around about Windows being more secure than Linux. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. I know some other YouTubers have covered this already, but I figured I'd put my spin and my analysis on this particular issue. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to a few articles on my desktop, and we're going to go ahead and pick this apart. So where did they get the idea that Linux operating systems were more vulnerable than Windows were? From a couple articles that were put out, actually several by now. And they're based off of a study that was published by the Best VPN. And we'll go over that study in a minute, briefly, but it says Debian Linux was the most vulnerable operating system in the last 20 years. And of course, this is according to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and it's the National Vulnerability Database. And it says Debian Linux was the operating system with the biggest number of vulnerabilities in the past 20 years. And then, of course, this is from Softpedia. Then, of course, TechRadar publishes Windows 10 isn't the most vulnerable operating system. It's actually Linux. And this is, it's based off the same study. They cite thebestvpn.com. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see where they're getting these numbers. I'm going to link both of those most of those articles in the description box, so you can take a look at them. But we're going to go and see where they get this from. Of course, it comes from the Best VPN. And we're not going to go over this whole thing because it's rather lengthy. I have read the whole thing. It's quite fantastic, and you can laugh at us. You can laugh at all of them together as soon as I point out its major flaws, because it is fantastic. So we're going to go down here. Of course, you've got number of vulnerabilities, total number of vulnerabilities here, but we're just going to go all the way down to where they're getting these numbers. Of course, it's by type, but where they're getting these numbers from, right here. Okay. This chart right here says how many vulnerabilities were found in the operating system or product in the last 20 years. It's the total number. 1999 to 2019, that's when they were collecting this data from. So Debian Linux is at 3,067. Okay. And then, of course, you got Android next, and the Linux kernel is at 2357. Alright, but now let's go down to Windows. Okay, of course, you got Windows Server and Windows Server 2008 to 2012, and then you have Windows 7 right here, which is 1283, and then Windows 10. Now, the thing is, take a look at this. They say Debian Linux right here. Okay? Well, of course, what version of Debian is that? Debian has different release versions. Is it Debian Buster? Is it Debian Stretch? Is it Debian Jesse? Etc. Or did they just add all those release versions together? And which I'm going to tell you, it is the latter. They just took everything that Debian, quote-unquote, found in the last 20 years and added them together. That's at least what I assume is what they did. But you don't know. But they broke up Windows into different sections, because you got the Windows servers here, and then you got Windows 7, Windows 10. But they just say Debian. I mean, so really they broke up Windows up together. So if you want to put Windows on an even playing field with Debian, you need to add Windows 7, Windows 10, and the servers all together. And I guarantee you, let's see, I'm looking at, well, if you just add Windows 7, Windows 10 together, you're looking at 2,500 around there. I'm just doing this quickly. But if you add, but Debian Linux, the server versions are included in that. So, let's see. So, you got almost 5,000 vulnerabilities found in the Windows family. But in the Debian family, you found 3,000. That is the biggest flaw in this study. And then, of course, you got Ubuntu right here, which has had even more releases in the last 20... Well, it's not even 20 years old, but it's had even more releases because they're on a 6-month rolling point schedule with 2 years in between LTSs. And you're not even citing the different releases in Ubuntu. And I will just tell you, Ubuntu, and the reason why Ubuntu has less than Debian is because it's based on Debian. So, and Debian's been patching them before they got to Ubuntu. So, it's kind of flawed. And also, I don't see many other Linux distributions out there because there's several other popular ones that a lot of people have heard of. Like, I don't see Arch on here, but Arch would be kind of a different animal because Arch doesn't have releases. So that would be an accurate representation. But you don't see Fedora or Red Hat on this list. Where are those? And those are popular. Most people have heard of them. So, but then of course you got 2019, and how many were found in 2019? Of course, Android tops that list at 414, and then of course you got Debian Linux right here, 360. Oh, by the way, in the other list, you don't see Windows 8, XP, or any of those in there because those were like 20. But these are, say, the top 20 products. But I would say Windows 8 should have made that list. But of course you've got, then you've got Windows 10, Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and RT 8.1. And then of course you got the two server visitors. And I can tell you right now that is about 800 of those. Right now, and just quickly doing the math, it's probably 800 to 1,000 vulnerabilities when Debian Linux was 360. So I'm like, this is so cherry picked, and let's just say it was rigged. If you're really going to tell us which operating systems were operating system families were more vulnerable, it is definitely Windows by far. But the thing is, it's not fair to compare Debian Linux, which has different release versions, all in one group, to different release groups for Windows. That's not an even playing field. So yes, it was rigged. Sorry if I rambled, but I wanted to get my point across. But as you can see, this study is complete and utter BS. They didn't do it properly, so they were spreading misinformation and half-truths. And I don't know if they didn't do it correctly by design or by sheer ignorance. I would almost say it's by design because the best VPN is a biased site. They are trying to sell a product. So next time, tech writers, check your sources and do your research a little bit before publishing these absolutely hilarious articles. And but security and what is more secure could be relative, because there were even some bugs in Windows that have existed in Windows since Windows 95 and XP. I'll link some funny articles there too once I find them. and I will post screenshots as well. But still, that's hilarious. And with that, that's about everything I've got. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. If you didn't, that's what that thumbs down button is for. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel. And as a reminder, my content is also being synced with Library. So head on down to library.tv and at Penguin Revolution if you prefer watching my content there. Now, there's a little bit of a delay, but other than that, it is there. And have a nice day. And I will see you in the next one. If you like my content and wish to support my work, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Also, if you wish to see more, check out the videos on your screen.